Can you mute your microphone?
Yeah.
Well, we made it. Barely. 12th episode of Rookies Roundup. It's a dozen, and boy, do we have some stuff to go over for you. It is currently 11:04 p.m. here in LA, which means it is our first ever After Dark edition of Rookies Roundup. So, remember how last week I kind of sort of promised that we'd be in Green Bay right now and would be on the air 4 hours ago? So that didn't exactly work out. Basically, there's a family emergency going on. My grandpa's really not doing so well, so thoughts and prayers are with him. Family first, there's always another Packer game, but, gotta stay in town and support him. God forbid anything happens. So again, yeah, thoughts and prayers are with him. Hopefully we will have another Green Bay show later on in the season. So, I think I have a pretty good excuse, and on that cheery note, we will begin the show. Rookies Roundup finally has a Facebook page. Took me long enough, but yes, we made it this far. And we do have a Facebook page, so like it up. Facebook, it's called Rookies Roundup. Pretty straightforward. I can't remember the URL. I'll get it to you later, but no one uses www anymore. Anyway, our ratings climbed. Remember last week I challenged you guys to beat Jay Cutler's QB rating? It was something like 83.2, and for the first time in 6 weeks, we hit over 100 views, 106 views, so good job for you guys. Don't stop now. Actually, 50 days after our first episode, we hit the 1,000 view mark, which means this show really does have potential, and it is good. Keep listening. Thank you guys so much. It really means the world to me. And yeah, no matter what happens, I'm going to keep doing this. It's a lot of fun, no matter what the time is or what's going on around me. And it's really, for you guys, it's a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. Of course, we got the national sports stuff going on. We're a national sports family. We did a late night show last night with Robert Dieters. We're always guest starring for each other's shows. You know the drill. We love what we do. It's great. We're getting more ratings every day. So check it out on Facebook. Our page is National Sports. On Twitter, it's all caps National Sports 1. And Instagram, National_Sports. I believe I've covered everything. Oh, yes, of course. If you want to call into the show at this late night, 310-922-9536, or go into the comment section. But seriously, also you can go on our Facebook page, and I will answer you. Seriously, somebody call in, because we've had 1,000 views. It's about time that we start to get to that level. Well, it's late, so we gotta get things rolling here. He just came back from his Ohio State Buckeyes victory in Northwestern. Noah Taborda, welcome to the show. Thank you for doing this such late at night. Congrats on the win.
Yeah, thanks so much. Just put it on Facebook, on my page, of course, Blake and Noah, LA to Chicago, to like your page, just so all of my fans can like your page too. Supporting other national sports people. So yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, Facebook shoutouts online to one another. If that's not family, I don't know what is. So, let's get right to it. NFL picks, it takes a while. So you know what? We have better topics to talk about. We're going to give you a rundown of topics. I know you can't be here for long because it's in Chicago already past 1 in the morning. So yeah. I'll run down those later. But first, let's get right into the topics. First, we will go to something going down in San Francisco. Dante Whitner is changing his name to Dante Hittner.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Do you like it? Do you think it's creative and funny, or do you think it's stupid and annoying?
It's a little bit of both. I think he's kind of a stupid guy for doing it. I think it's it's funny just because, whenever somebody changes his name, it's just kind of cool. And, when Meta World Peace did it, it was obviously popular. But I don't think it's really I think it's stupid at the same time. I think every name change is funny for a little bit, and then once they realize that their name is actually something else, then they realize that it's kind of stupid. So a lot of people think it's stupid, a lot of people think it's funny, but eventually everybody will go to the point where they think it is stupid.
When will we learn our lesson? Chad Johnson changed his name to Chad Ochocinco. He gets laughed at. Ron Artest changed his name to Meta World Peace. He gets laughed at. Why on earth does Dante Whitner think that his name should be Dante Hittner? I know he's trying to be funny, but seriously, it's a waste of your time and a waste of money. He actually has to pay Nike before he can change his name, and it's going to take a month to do it anyway. I don't like it. I guess he's trying to be funny, but it just has to take him seriously. And Dante Whitner's the name he's been playing with his whole life. That's the name that he built his reputation under, and now he's changing it. I don't personally love it, but I don't feel too strongly about it. Moving on, University of Minnesota football head coach Jerry Kill had his 5th seizure on game day since 2011 today, and it did not end up coaching the game. Is this a wake-up call to the University of Minnesota that it might be time for a coaching change?
Before I comment on that, just hopefully, he gets better. You never want to see a guy have to suffer through that, especially when he's trying to make his team and will his team through these weeks, like tough weeks of the year, trying to get those wins. But just for the sake of Minnesota, I would have to say that it's time that they get a new coach. It's difficult to rely on a coach when you don't know, when they're unreliable. You can't rely on an unreliable coach. And if he's not going to be there, no matter how good he is, you just can't go on with that, because you need a coach that's going to be there week in and week out, that'll be able to lead your team and tell your team what they have to be able to do. It's not the same when you have another coach coaching.
Yeah, forget about for Minnesota's sake. How about for Jerry Kill's sake? This guy's clearly in no shape to be coaching whatsoever. 5 seizures. Clearly, he just does not seem healthy enough at this point to be coaching football games. It's not fair to him, it's not fair to the players, and I think it's time to part ways. There are a lot of coaches being fired that don't deserve it, and now all the coaches that should be fired aren't. It's a weird world in the coaching world, and, fired is a tough term in this case for him, but I think just for his medical sake, it's time. It's really time. Now, people that won't be so sympathetic with another guy that would be Alex Rodriguez. He is suing Major League Baseball for what he is calling a quote-unquote witch hunt to get him out of the game he loves. Do you understand where A-Rod is coming from, or do you think this is more of the same and can't stand it?
Well, here's the thing. If there had been any other player, I would have said it's understandable. I would understand where it comes from. But this is A-Rod, and because of all the things that A-Rod's done, the irresponsibility of him, it's just another act of irresponsibility, showing his childlikeness. When you get suspended for steroids for that much time, that's not them just wanting to take you out of the game. That's you messing up and using steroids. I don't think there's any way around that. He's just trying to find excuses for himself. He's an attention hog. Don't pay any attention to him. Don't empower him. When you pay attention to it, it just goes on, and hopefully they can just get this over with, get him out of the game. I don't think he deserves to, especially after this.
Listen, here's the thing. Again, I'm not a fan of A-Rod. I'm not a fan of players that act like this, and I'm certainly not a fan of steroids. But right now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but A-Rod has a point. All Bud Selig has to do is show us the proof. They keep saying we have proof. Show us the proof. Don't give us any doubt in our mind. We already don't want to root for A-Rod, so just put the nail in the coffin. Because right now, I understand where A-Rod's coming from. Show us the evidence, then we can believe you.
Now, yeah, I think you have a point there. I think that's true. It does kind of seem funny. I do think they have the proof, but If they don't, then I do understand where everybody's coming from. But just because of his, like I said, how childish he is, it's tough to say that I really can believe him.
Yeah, with the suspension rules, this does not warrant a career ban. This warrants the ban that he ended up getting. So I agree. I think they've been very harsh on Alex Rodriguez, and I think it's because they think it's bad PR. But you know what's worse PR, if you ask me? Ruining your integrity. You have rules, follow them. Because you can't expect anybody else to follow them if you don't follow them yourself.
True, that is so true.
Yeah, well, we were talking about coaches that are getting fired that shouldn't be. Cincinnati Reds manager Dusty Baker, after leading his team to a 90-win season and a playoff appearance, has inexplicably been fired. He is out as manager of the Cincinnati Reds. Do you like this choice?
Well, first of all, I hate Dusty Baker, and it's mainly just not as a coach, just as a guy. Because I had an experience where I was at a Cubs game a while ago. I believe it was 3 years ago, and he walked right up to me with the ball and then just tossed it aside while looking straight at me. So I just don't like him as a guy. As a coach, though, I do think that he should have been allowed to stay. You don't. It's like kind of like the George Karl, though. It's when George Karl, he led them to the playoffs, a high seed, and then of course he gets fired. And I don't think he should have been fired. I don't think Dusty Baker should have been fired either. They've played well under him, and especially of late. And they played well this year. Unfortunately, obviously they couldn't bring home that Central title, but it was in a very good Central, obviously. And they lost to a team that is very good. I don't think there's anything to complain about. So I don't like this firing at all.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I agree with you on some points in that I don't like it at all. But I disagree with the fact that this relates to George Karl. In my mind, nothing relates to George Karl. Because George Karl brought a team that never should have been in the playoffs into the playoffs year in and year out. Oh, and there's the little detail that he fought through goddamn cancer to coach this team. And there was such disrespect there. So the Baker situation doesn't make me as mad. But it's still upsetting to me. And I think this was actually because of a disagreement with the Reds GM. According to the Cincinnati Inquirer, Baker said, quote, "I got the news yesterday. I was a little shocked. I wasn't really shocked because I hadn't heard from anyone in a couple of days." Baker said that last week GM Walt Jocketty discussed the possibility of letting go hitting coach Brooke Jacoby at the end of the season. It didn't sit right with Baker, and he said so, quote, "We talked about Brooke about a week ago, and they were talking about replacing him, and I didn't think it was right. All the coaches get blamed for everything. Maybe it was time to go. I did say something like that, and they did it. It wasn't a mutual thing. There's probably some other things in there, some things that were said or didn't get said, stuff that was done over the years. And then they said we didn't have much motivation and spunk over the last weekend, but our pitching was bad and we didn't hit," end quote. So, yeah, Baker said that he is not planning to retire, and that's good because I do think he's a good manager, and he could fit very well for certain Major League Baseball teams, but I don't like this firing at all. It seems that if you don't get a championship, you are out, and that is completely ridiculous because there are teams that would be lucky to get 90 wins right now. I think it's a bad move from the Reds. I feel like a disagreement over a hitting coach certainly does not warrant this. I don't think anything warrants this unless he has broken the law. I mean, unbelievable that you can go 90 and 72 and get fired. It just proves that nobody is really safe, but I feel like this is very unfair treatment of Dusty Baker, and I think Walt Jocketty will regret that as GM of the Reds.
Yeah, I agree. Just another point to add on the point, like how they can't pitch well or all of that. They were fourth in baseball for the least runs allowed with 589, only behind the Dodgers, Pittsburgh, and Atlanta, all very viable teams. And they had a great run differential of plus 109. Sure, they weren't the greatest at scoring runs, but I wouldn't call being, like 10th in the league bad. I think they were a really good team personally, and I think that they just weren't able to pull it out in the end. Obviously, I think the Pirates were a better team. But I think that Dusty Baker is really helpful to this team, and I think this team was really good under him. And I agree. I do think he'll regret it. I do think the Cincinnati Reds will go on and continue to be a good team. Maybe not as good, but possibly better. You never know. But yeah, I think he'll regret it.
Yeah, one last thing to note before we move on. The Reds already have some sort of resentment of the front office. There seems to be some sort of discord there. I mean, we know how Brandon Phillips thought about how the front office was handling negotiations and whatnot, and this certainly, at least I don't think, is going to make matters better. Moving on, speaking of making matters better, it looked like things were finally clearing up in Cleveland. The Browns are 3-2, have a record of above 5. They're 3-2 for the first time since 2001, and a record over 500 for the first time since 2007. They won their 3 games in a row despite trading their best player, Trent Richardson, under quarterback Brian Hoyer. Everything was going well, but keep in mind, this is Cleveland sports, and nothing can go well when Cleveland and sports are involved together. Hoyer tore his ACL on Thursday Night Football against the Bills. He is out for the season. What is next for the Browns?
Well, I would have said Josh Freeman, but it's been reported by NFL media insider Ian Rappaport that the Cleveland Browns will not be making a run to try to sign him, so he won't be going there. So I guess they're going to stick with Brandon Weeden here and try to see this out. I don't like it. I think Josh Freeman would be a good signing, but this is what the article says on NFL.com. The Browns do not need another mixed bag at the position. Barring Hoyer winning the job again in 2014, next year's starter isn't on the roster. It's not Weeden, it's definitely not Campbell, and it won't be Freeman. So that's basically what's going on. I think just for the sake of this year, Josh Freeman would have been the best signing, even though I don't think he would have been that much of an improvement, because I don't think Josh Freeman is that terrific. I do think he's a good quarterback, and eventually he'll find his job. But I guess the Browns are just going to have to stick with Weeden for the rest of the year. It's just tough news, especially when they were starting to figure some stuff out. And you're right, it always happens with Cleveland. Nothing goes right in Cleveland sports at all, ever.
Yeah, first of all, if I'm Cleveland, I am knocking at Josh Freeman's door and begging on my knees for him to become the quarterback of my team. Clearly they're not interested in that. Okay, then what's the only plausible answer left? Because Brandon Weeden is not an answer to any problems. Tim Tebow. Right, because the only thing that the only thing that can save the Browns at this point is divine intervention, and nobody knows divine intervention like Tim Tebow. Something needs to change. Miracles can happen, and I think that it's so crazy it just might work. It's like every bad '90s movie when it comes to Tim Tebow and the Cleveland Browns. It's so crazy it just might work. I think that if the Browns don't sign Tim Tebow or any other quarterback, Cleveland fans once again have a right to be mad and disappointed. Upside, they're right back in it for the sweepstakes for either Clowney, Boyd, Bridgewater, or God knows who else.
Yeah, here's the thing. If they go with Clowney, I'd actually feel bad for Browns fans.
I agree.
Because they do have an improving defense, actually. Their defense it's not like the level you want it to be, but it's improving slowly, very gradually. But they definitely need a quarterback, because if they don't have a quarterback for their franchise future, then fans are just going to, not that many of them have already given up, but obviously the Jaguars will probably end up with Bridgewater as their future quarterback. So where does that leave the Browns? I would see them probably going with another high-level quarterback, a Taj Boyd, maybe even Brett Hundley if he continues to play as well as he has. Or, even Marcus Mariota, but I don't think Mariota would be the right decision. I think that if they end up with a top 5 pick, I think Taj Boyd is the way to go. But it's just tough for them. Nothing seems to go right. And Tim Tebow would be interesting, and as you said, miracles do happen. And him and God being best friends, obviously, miracles often happen with him. Up until the second round of the playoffs against the New England Patriots, when God took a nap during the game. And then we realized, oh, wait, no, he's playing right now.
Yeah, well, God was caught napping there, and we saw how that went down. By the way, I'm a UCLA Bruin fan. Please don't do that to Brett Hundley. This guy has such potential. Don't stick him in Cleveland. I am begging you. Have mercy. But Cleveland's not known for being very merciful when it comes to sports now, are they? Well, this leads nicely into our next topic. Josh Freeman is now a free agent. I don't know how this happened. Well, I do know it was Greg Schiano, who I definitely believe is the worst coach in the NFL. We'll get to that later. You know how I feel about this. So the question now is, what's next for Freeman? There have been reports coming out that the Raiders are very interested and the Bills are very interested, which I was surprised and didn't like that direction for both franchises. What do you think is next for Freeman, and what would be the best fit for him?
Wow, that's a difficult question. Obviously, I agree with you. Greg Schiano's an idiot. First of all, he just ruined the Buccaneers. He's going to do it over and over again, and it's tough to say really where he'll go. Obviously, now we can rule out the Browns based on from what we've heard from NFL.com, but there's always the possibility that he does sign. There's this list on Sports Illustrated. First of all, I'd like to rule out Green Bay. Please don't sign with Green Bay. I don't want the Packers to sign him. I don't think we need him as our backup. Cleveland, we can rule out. I don't think he's going to Houston. Possibly the Jaguars, but I really don't think so because the Jaguars at this point really might as well just keep their quarterback, end up with a number 1 pick, and then welcome to Jacksonville Teddy Bridgewater. But I don't think he's going to go to Oakland. I think they're going to stick with Terrell Pryor when he's healthy. Of course, Matt Flynn, not great, obviously. He basically ruined his chance. And I think that he'll end up going actually to Tennessee. I think he'll end up going to Tennessee now that Jay Locker's out. And Tennessee is a good team. They're a sneaky team. And I think that Tennessee still wants to win this. I think they still want to get into the playoffs. So I see him going to Tennessee. And I don't think it'll be the greatest fit, but that's where I do think he'll go.
I think that is probably the best possible fit for Josh Freeman. If Jacksonville was smart, they would take him or Tebow or somebody, but if they're that dead set on tanking this year, then don't take Freeman because he is good. I don't know how dedicated Freeman will be now. If he'll really put his heart into it when he knows that when Locker comes back, he's probably going to be gone. And honestly, I don't know how Jake Locker's going to feel about that, knowing that while he's injured, he could all of a sudden have a quarterback job to compete for, which is completely unfair to him because his career was about to take off, and he's only out for a few weeks. I think that Freeman... man, I really don't know what fit there is out there for Josh Freeman. I think some experimenting in St. Louis couldn't hurt. The problem is there's just no receivers out there whatsoever. I think maybe even working around with the Jets could be good. I don't know, but he deserves to be a starting quarterback. He really should be with the Browns. Or you know what, I would love him with the Jaguars. If it was my choice, I'd put him with Jacksonville. I think him connecting perhaps with Cecil Shorts and who's coming back this week, Justin Blackmon, could be very interesting for Freeman. But I think we both agree that he deserves to be a starting quarterback in this league.
Yeah.
Alright, so now on to college football. Today we saw some pretty good games, but the top teams did all come out as planned, like your Buckeyes, which I'm sure you were happy about.
Very happy.
Stanford pulled their game out. Georgia had to go to overtime with Tennessee, and thanks to a fumble into the end zone in the first possession of overtime, everything was turned around, and Georgia ended up holding on to win in overtime. Now, here is my question to you. If you are a voter for the AP polls, do you mark Georgia down, even though they win? Do you send them down? Because they beat LSU. Yes, they're a fantastic team. That was a close one. That was well-deserved. And then you've got Tennessee here, and it needs to go to overtime. So, I mean, it looks like right now there are teams that are playing better than, certainly are playing better than Georgia. Guys like Florida State and others. What do you think? If it was up to you, would you move Georgia down in the rankings this week?
Well, here, let me look at the rankings. I would move Georgia down one spot, and I'm moving Florida State, leapfrogging Louisville, because Florida State has been really impressive. Jameis Winston looks really, really good. I mean, obviously, I don't think Maryland deserved to be in the top 25, period. But because they're top 25, they really had a great showing. And Georgia now, they're in trouble because if Todd Gurley can't play next week, that's a problem. Keith Marshall was also injured in the game, so this game came with a cost for these Georgia Bulldogs. And hopefully they can rebound from this. They do have an easy week, luckily, next week. But then again, this is college. Nothing comes easy. They play Missouri and then Vanderbilt. But they'll definitely need him back by November 2nd. And I do think he'll be back. But I do think they should mark him down, but not substantially. Every team has a tough game. And if you do that, then you have to mark Stanford down, even though they played a good Washington team. You've got to mark all these other teams down for keeping up against close games. I think that mark them down a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah, normally I'd be against marking down a ranked team like Georgia for winning a close game. But when we're talking about Tennessee and how teams below them are playing, I think it warrants them being marked down a little bit. I completely agree with you, actually. I'm going to put Florida State also at 6, move Georgia down to 7, and move Louisville down to 8, because Florida State has just been so phenomenal, and Georgia has been involved in a couple of scares. I mean, you're going to get tough opponents, but in a game against Tennessee, this should not be happening, especially not behind Aaron Murray. So, yeah, I think we both agree with that one. Georgia should be moving down just one spot, but don't take it too far.
Yeah.
Well, we went to college, now we are going to go right back to the pros. Speaking of the Jaguars and the Browns, who is the worst team in the National Football League?
Wait, was that a question? I'm still going to go with the Jaguars. I mean, how can I say a team with Blaine Gabbert as quarterback? Blaine Gabbert is a joke. I'm sorry, Blaine. You might be a good person or whatever, but you're a terrible quarterback, and I hope you know that. Because if you're going to consider yourself a decent quarterback, you may be selling yourself a little far there. Blaine Gabbert is terrible. Maurice Jones-Drew, he's not playing as well as he wishes he would. Hopefully he can change out against St. Louis. And you just look down that team. I feel bad for Cecil Shorts because he is a talented wide receiver and he doesn't get attention because Blaine Gabbert can't throw it to him at all because Blaine Gabbert can't throw, period. Then you have Justin Blackman, who I think if he was put in the right situation could develop into a talented wide receiver. So they have certain players that would be good if they actually had people around them. But no, they have Blaine Gabbert as their quarterback, and they just can't seem to do anything whatsoever. So I have to put Jacksonville as my worst team. Do you think they could go 0-16? I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they haven't been able to generate anything at all anyways.
Okay, so I would not include this question with such a seemingly obvious answer if I didn't have something to say about it. I don't think the Jaguars are the worst team in the NFL, and I think we're going to see that this week. I'm going to say the Jaguars are going to win this week against the real worst team in the NFL, the St. Louis Rams. Now, let's talk about this. You were talking about how Cecil Shorts has potential. Justin Blackman's coming back from 4-game suspension. Jones-Drew has proven that he can play well. Chad Henne was mediocre when he was with Miami. Mediocre does not make you the worst team in the NFL. Bradford's good. That is all this team has going for them. Their running game and their receiving core is so pitiful. I would rather be a Jaguars fan right now than the Rams because their best receiver right now is, in terms of receiving yards, their tight end Jared Cook, who has 240 yards. When your leading receiver is averaging 60 yards per game at this point, and it only has 2 touchdowns, that's a problem. Their leading rusher, Darrell Richardson, 42 carries, 114 yards this entire season. He is not averaging 30 yards per game. There's nothing going on here on offense. You feel bad for Bradford because he has nobody to throw it to. But if I ask you who's this team's best receiver, and the first person you can think of is Tavon Austin, whose Wonderlic score was a 7. I mean, most teams have a higher win total than Austin's Wonderlic score. It would not be wise to look at them and consider that they are a talented team. So I actually think the Rams are a worse team, and I think we're going to see that this week because they're not going to be able to get anything done on offense.
Well, first of all, St. Louis does have one more player going for them. That's Robert Quinn. I don't know if you mentioned him. But Robert Quinn has been phenomenal this year. But the problem with Jacksonville, look, they're 30th in passing yards, averaging 175 a game. 31st in rushing yards, going 49 yards a game. 32nd in opponent rushing yards, going for 165 yards a game. So they're only good in opponent passing yards. Then again, St. Louis is the worst in rushing yards, but they are better in passing yards. These teams are actually almost identically bad, just to tell you the truth. It's just that St. Louis has put up more points. Jacksonville, obviously, only with 2 touchdowns on the year. But, if I had to pick a second worst team, I would go with St. Louis. But up until Jacksonville proves me wrong as them being the worst team, I'm going to stick with Jacksonville. But if Jacksonville can pull out the win, then I would have to agree that St. Louis is the worst.
Yeah, here's my problem with this, because first of all, the Rams are averaging 2.7 yards per carry. The Rams are averaging 2.6 yards per carry. The only team worse than them in that is Jacksonville at 2.3. Granted, Jacksonville has played better teams thus far than St. Louis. Here's how you know your team is bad. When you're starting running back, you find out that he's not going to be starting because he indicated it on his Twitter account. Darrell Richardson indicated on his Twitter account that he would not be in the starting lineup Sunday. According to Jeff Fisher, Isaiah Peet and Zach Stacy are the top candidates for the spot. And the big thing that's really troubling me is what Sam Bradford said. Quote, the biggest thing is we've got to keep trying to rush the ball, just getting those guys comfortable running the ball. And quote, no, that is the worst thing you could do right now. The only thing you have going for you is your quarterback. Throw the ball. Don't keep it on the ground if you can't even get 3 yards per carry. I think they don't have the right mindset, and I'm actually questioning Jeff Fisher. I didn't like that they booted him out of Tennessee. I thought that he'd be able to prove people wrong in St. Louis, but he doesn't have the tools around him. To be honest, I don't think anyone on this team has the right mindset. Well, yeah. Well, from the football field to the baseball diamond, the playoffs are underway, in case you noticed, and we are seeing botched call after botched call. We saw it in the Rays Rangers. I'm a Dodgers fan. I was infuriated when I saw this. Ninth inning of the game 2 it was, between the Dodgers and the Braves. 4-3, the Braves are winning. Top of the ninth, D. Gordon's running his pinch runs. He's on first with 1 gone. He steals second. He is safe, technically, but the umpire calls him out. As a Packer fan, I'm allowed to pout about bad calls. Nobody can talk to me about bad refs and games they should have won. I just say the words Fail Mary, and they be quiet, and as they should be, because me and you know the pain of having referees rip a game away from you. Me, you, and everybody who's an Iowa State fan, whether it's football or basketball. That's just not fair. I like the Cyclones. And I just feel for the people of Ames, Iowa. But, getting back on track, MLB Instant Replay. This needs to happen soon. Or are you one of those baseball purists who thinks that the human element's part of the game? Is it time to go to Instant Replay and risk maybe a couple extra seconds on Instant Replays? What do you think here?
Yeah, I think it's time to go to the replay. Basically, when I hear those baseball purists, this is what I hear. Oh no, it's too perfect. We want it to be allowed to ruin the game when a team should win the World Series possibly. But no, we're going to take it away from them. Or, Armando Galarraga, you just lost your perfect game because we don't really care about your perfect game. We just want it to have no replay. I think that's ridiculous. And you know what's ridiculous also? Here in Chicago, they don't really care about the foul, maybe. They still say, oh, well, refs are ruining the Packers-Bears game, which is just ridiculous. They all complain about that. Please don't complain to me about that. But I do think it's time. And on the D. Gordon call, I was staring at it. I was eating dinner. I was just like, wow, that's a bad call. That's a game changer right there. Right after that hand ram 2-run homer in the 8th inning that really turned it around. And then you would have had a guy on second, 1 out with a chance to tie the game. Just ridiculous. Craig Kimbrell, I think he got a little lucky there that he wouldn't get a blown slave. A blown save. There we go. In the playoffs. But, I think it's time for a replay. Get the calls right. You don't want a team that deserves to win not winning. All the other sports are even doing it. Even soccer has started to do it. So it's time.
Yeah. I'm like the people who say that the human element is part of the game is probably the same people who, with those same people, still want to be riding on horse and carriage instead of cars because that's the way it was meant to be. But they still want chariot racing to be in the Olympics because that's the pure form. No, this is what you have in front of you. You have technology in front of you. Use it. This isn't fair for anyone. You're ruining baseball. There are rules. Rules are written to be followed, not to be broken. Please get your head out of the gutter. There's a reason many people don't watch baseball as much, and why it's not America's pastime and football is becoming that. It's because, A, it's kind of slow, but you can't fix that. But B, it's because the umpires are so god-awful, and they refuse to fix it. It's this old, archaic thinking, and it needs to change. I think.
Like you said, past time. It's the past time. It's in the past, and that's exactly how the purists are keeping it. They want to make sure it's the past time, but not the future time or the current time. They're fine with just the past time. They'll stick with that while the NFL passes them and becomes the most popular sport. They just don't seem to notice that their ratings and their attendance is going down. It's like they have tunnel vision.
Yeah, you know what? The rest of the world will walk around with their iPhones while you carry a 10-pound cell phone in your pocket, because that's the way it was meant to be.
No, they carry around the whole landline. They have like this little cord that comes with them from the house.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I hope no one's listening right now that's a fan of the human element, because they're just closing the window.
And landline phones.
Right now. Hey, don't forget your landline phone. Alright, it's alright. We respect we acknowledge all opinions. We reserve the right to disrespect them, but we acknowledge your opinions. Now, on that cheery note, who is the hottest team in the playoffs, regardless of whether or not the umpires are trying to screw them out of victories?
I'd have to say the Red Sox are the hottest team because they're playing pretty well, I've been pretty impressed with them. I think the Pirates, now that they got that win, are moving on that hot streak. And I'd still have to say the Dodgers are still on the hot streak. Even though they had a tough loss, I think they'll bounce back and pick up the next 2 wins in LA and win the series right there. I think it'll be tough, of course. Never easy to close out series, especially against a quality team. But at this point, I'm going to stick with the Red Sox as the hottest team. They have yet to prove me wrong. And Blake, obviously, his favorite team is the Red Sox, sitting comfortably with that while I sit comfortably at home waiting for the White Sox to somehow become good next year.
Oh, wait, you live in Chicago and you're a White... But you know what? At least you're not a Cubs fan. At least the reason you're not winning World Series is because of some crazy guy over 100 years ago with a goat that wouldn't be let into Wrigley Field. But yeah, I still feel for you as a White Sox fan. Finally, after years of not really being involved in the playoff discussion, my Dodgers are moving on up. But yeah, 4 playoff series right now. Each of them have played 2 games. 3 of those 4 series are tied at 1-1. The 4th, annoyingly for me, the Boston Red Sox lead the Rays in that series 2-0, and it hasn't even been close. Yesterday they won 12-2. Today they win 7-4, and they have to now go to the Trop, where the Red Sox will still have home field advantage because attendance is pitiful in Tampa Bay.
It's like the Jaguars.
Oh, it's worse than the Jaguars.
Exactly. They get like paper cutouts of fans to sit down and make it look like there are people in the stands.
You know, when they actually were in playoff discussion, when they just had the 9th worst attendance, they literally gave away 20,000 free tickets to create a quote-unquote sold-out atmosphere so that they wouldn't be playing for a playoff spot in front of empty fans. True story.
Their owner buys the tickets for themselves. That's what he does.
Yeah, really. I mean, you know what? Wake up, Tampa Bay, because there are teams and cities that really wish that they had a baseball team, but don't. Be grateful for what you have.
Come to Chicago.
Oh,
yes,
3 teams.
Make it 3 teams. And the other team will be called Tampa Bay Chicago Devil Ray White Sox.
The Devil Ray White Sox. All right, how
the Devil Sox.
Let's put the Devil Sox. Dear God. The Devil Sox. New fashion trend here on Rookies Roundup. You heard it here first. Devil Sox. They're the next yoga pants. They're all the rage. It's the next twerking.
Wow.
Oh, yes, Devil Sox. That's one for the ages.
I'm patenting that. I'm going to create Devil Sox. You'll see it on the market starting next winter.
Devil Sox, trademark.
Noah Taporta.
Noah Taporta's Devil Sox. And then you can bring it on Shark Tank and Mark Cuban would invest into it. But
exactly.
Yeah. No, I think we should put him in Cleveland. Because everyone's finding a way to fail, so maybe they just need a fresh start. You know, Cleveland hasn't had a professional sports team win a championship since the 50s. And that was with the Cleveland Indians. By the way, Indians fans, cool it. I don't know if you're clueless or racist or both, but you see the wild card game between the Indians and the Rays that some guys showed up in red face. Come on, guys. Listen, how are we supposed to feel sympathetic for you if you're A, clueless, B, racist, C, all of the above? So, just don't even try that. They deserve to lose that game. I was happy.
Yeah. Here's the question. Is Cleveland still I didn't even realize Cleveland was still a city. That they actually had sports teams. Their sports teams are irrelevant in the world, except for Cleveland because they have the Cavaliers because they have Kyrie Irving. But then again, does anybody realize that Kyrie Irving even plays on a team? They only realize what they see on the jerseys. Instead of seeing the Cavs, they just see Irvings. That's all they see.
Can we rename Cleveland to West Cincinnati?
Exactly.
The West Cincinnati Cavaliers. And then all the Cavs fans can burn their jerseys when they get new logos because they love burning their own clothing in Cleveland. Stupidest tradition in sports.
But you got to make sure you refer to it as West Cincinnati, otherwise people will get confused when you say, I'm in Cincinnati. They'll have to ask you, which Cincinnati?
The fake Cincinnati. It's like the Los Angeles. It's the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim all over again.
Exactly.
All right. So now let's go back to the NFL. Who is the worst coach in the NFL? I am at a point where I think that Greg Schiano is worse than guys like Rex Ryan. If you could pick, who is the last coach you would want?
The last coach I would want, I'd have to go with Schiano. He's just kind of like an idiot. I don't think Rex Ryan would be a bad coach to have your coaching staff, just not a good head coach. Defensive coach, sure. Just make sure that he's wearing a muzzle, except for when he's telling you how to run your defense. But besides that, he just talks too much. But Schiano's an idiot. I don't know if he has much going on up there. There doesn't seem... It's like takes a while for him to process things. They're just little like people running and they're like, ooh, scurrying in there trying to make sure things get done quickly, but they can't seem to get it done. It's like a disorganized mailbox station, and everything is going to the wrong places. Really, he meant to fire one of his third-string quarterbacks or running backs, but the wrong message went to the wrong place, and then he decided to get rid of Freeman.
Yeah, I think the problem is Greg Schiano realized that people don't use mail anymore, so there is no excuse for that mistake in the first place. Now listen, I'm going to say that Schiano is worse than Rex Ryan, because Rex Ryan does have an upside. He could be a good trainer for your team. I'm sure his foot massages are fantastic. Greg Schiano is just driving this team into the ground. This is sabotage. Make no mistake. First of all, people are like, well, he proved that he could win in college at Rutgers. A, it's Rutgers. Get over it. B, he went 68 and 67 at college. 68 and 67, and somehow he has a job while guys like Lovie Smith don't. That's what doesn't make sense to me. And the Tampa Bay fans aren't happy with him either. And I can't say I blame them. You know what? I think that Schiano is the worst coach in the NFL. I think he has hit rock bottom. He went full Eric Mangini. Never go full Eric Mangini.
Yeah, Greg Schiano, you're right. They don't use mail anymore. I think he may be a little bit more outdated. He has pigeons flying around trying to deliver the messages.
He likes his baseball without instant replays.
Of course. Yeah, Schiano, I don't know why he's there. Lovie Smith is, like you said, I hate to say it because I'm a Bears fan. I mean, a Packers fan, obviously. But Lovie Smith was an excellent coach, and I loved him. I think Mark Trestman's a good coach. I just think Lovie Smith was better. But Rex Ryan, the problem with being trainer is that sometimes trainers need to set a good example in eating right. And when it comes to that, it's going to be difficult for him to resist those yummy chickens that are sitting right in front of him.
He's
live chickens. He'll eat the live chickens.
Worked hard. The struggle is real. And you know what? It didn't work. You know what he had to do? He underwent surgery. Lap band surgery. But it was still surgery. And he deserves out. I'm sorry, I can't do it with a straight face.
A year ago he lost 100+ pounds, but he still looks like he's that exact same weight. If he lost 100+ pounds and he looks like how he does now, wow! Imagine him if he gains more. Just how he weighs like. I feel like they have to put him like how the Ford Tundra, those Ford Tundra commercials. We towed like this spaceship. I think it would be more impressive if we towed Rex Ryan.
Oh, that's mean. That's mean. Oh my God, could you imagine? I can imagine Rex Ryan, after he steps on the scale, calling up the people at Subway, being like, I did what Jared did. It doesn't work. It's fake. I'm never eating at your establishment again.
Oh, Rex. Oh, Rex, when will you ever learn?
Oh, well. You know what? At least his team's 2-2, and he isn't sabotaging his team. If I'm in Tampa Bay, I'm going medieval angry mob. Bring your own pitchfork.
Yeah, they're not renting pitchforks currently. The store is sold out in Tampa Bay. Oh, look, Tampa Bay again. Isn't that funny? Tampa Bay again. Wow, look, see, Tampa Bay just doesn't know what they're doing when it comes to anything. So, Tampa, you're struggling right now. I feel for you. No, I really don't, actually, because you hired Schiano as your coach, so I can't feel for you. But I don't feel for you. I just hope that you guys actually don't ruin your reputation. Oh, no, you already did that. You already ruined your reputation. You have nothing to live for, Tampa. It's time to give up.
No, it's never time to give up. Although that seems like that was what they were doing when they fired Raheem Morris after his team went 10-6. I think that was despicable. Here's how you know it's bad in Tampa Bay. The thing they get to look forward to is hockey. Hockey in Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Lightning actually went into the Madhouse in Madison and defeated the Chicago Blackhawks 3-2.
They beat them today?
Shootout. They beat them. They beat the Chicago Blackhawks today. So yeah, they are down to hockey in Tampa Bay. Don't worry, it's a dark time, but you can go through it. This is what happened to us in LA when the Dodgers were bad, and then the Kings ended up winning the Stanley Cup. So you know what? The Tampa Bay Lightning, you are an honorary team of Rookies Roundup. We are rooting for you guys, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to bump up your attendance. But speaking of attendance, how about this? WNBA. I know, I'm never going to talk about the WNBA again, I promise. Just let me spit this one out. So, the Atlanta Dream and the Minnesota Lynx are supposed to play in the WNBA Finals. The Dream had the best record, and therefore we're supposed to get home court advantage at Phillips Arena, where the Hawks play their games, and so do the Dream. But there was a scheduling conflict. Sadly, Disney on Ice was in town. This is a true story. Disney on Ice is in town, so Minnesota gets to host the first 2 games, and then the third game, if there is one with the WNBA, will be more than half an hour away from Atlanta, and I believe in Duluth in Georgia. So I'm actually going to ask you your opinion on something about the WNBA. Do you really think that they should have moved them out, or do you think that Disney on Ice could step aside for just?
I have 2 questions for you. One, why is the WNBA trying to upstage Disney on Ice? And 2, where do I get tickets for Disney on Ice, which is possibly the greatest show on ice? Also, just really quickly, Tampa Bay also, they can look forward to the Tampa Bay Storm, their Arena Football League team. Oh, football in Tampa Bay. They also have 2 rugby teams and Division II soccer. So they have stuff to look forward to. It just really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. 2, back to the WNBA now. I will hopefully be I'll try to go to Atlanta just to watch Disney on Ice while they do their WNBA stuff over there. I don't know how Chicago's doing. I actually going to look that up right now. But, yeah, I think that's stupid that they moved it, truthfully, off of it because of Disney on Ice. I feel bad for all those WNBA players who just are now starting to realize that nobody really cares about the WNBA, and you know that when you get kicked off because of Disney on Ice. So, which is only popular among ages 3 to 10, so.
You know what? First, here's what I have to say. There are WNBA fans out there. Did you know that Siri is a WNBA fan? And she, the person who voices Siri, actually, some Atlanta woman came out and said that she was Siri. But listen to this. I'm going to do a live demonstration on air right now to prove that Siri is indeed a WNBA fan. Siri, who's your favorite WNBA team?
I always like to root for the underdog. I guess that makes me a fan of the Sun right now.
The Sun. So she is a Sun fan right now.
Does she realize the Sun didn't? They didn't make the playoffs.
Yes, you see, Siri is the anti-bandwagon. If you ask her her favorite team in any sport, she will say, "I always like to root for the underdog. I guess that makes me a fan of the blank right now." And blank is whoever has the worst record. The Sun
is she
has
a fan of Greg Schiano?
Exactly. She must. Let's find out. Siri, who's your favorite NFL team right now?
There are a couple of NFL games on tap for Week 5. There aren't any games for today.
Ask her if she's a fan of Greg Schiano.
Siri, how do you feel about Greg Schiano?
I think different.
I do too, right? Those are you heard it here first. Me, Noah, and Siri agree. Technology is on our side. I think it's because she doesn't want males to upstage her again.
If Siri agrees with us, then everybody has to agree. If you disagree, I even think Greg Schiano agrees with us. I'm Greg Schiano. I think he agrees with us that he's a stupid coach. So it's good to know that we have everybody on our side.
Yeah, I'm about to say a line that I never thought I'd say in my life. Back to on topic of the WNBA. Wow, that's a first. We've hit 1,000 views right now because we can talk about literally anything. I think my reasoning is, while I do feel bad for the WNBA, do it for the children. There will be many more people disappointed that their beloved Disney fans won't be able to see them on ice. Sometimes Blu-ray just isn't enough. And the second greatest show on ice, by the way, is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Maybe they'll sell more tickets than the Atlanta Dream. Who knows? For Atlanta's sake, I'm going to be rooting hard for the Minnesota Lynx, so it doesn't have to come to that. And maybe they'll just win each of the first 2 games, or better yet, the Atlanta Dream win Game 1 and Game 2 in Minnesota, and don't have to get upstaged by Disney on Ice.
Yeah, Disney on Ice apparently does sell out. It's sold out in Qatar, so it obviously has worldwide reach.
In Qatar.
Exactly. Look, even Qatar children love it. And there are tickets right now going for up to $100, and they're running low on tickets for the show that's actually next year, February 20th, in Winnipeg. Only close seats available now, so obviously it's very popular. I think the Atlanta Dream are slightly lacking in attendance. Atlanta gets maybe 10 to 15 people that actually care to the game. The other ones are just trying to bring their family to the game without paying the full price of an NBA game. Well, not really realizing that this team even has an actual name, or that this team actually gets paid for what they're doing. Meanwhile, I think that Disney on Ice should have would it be called a players, would it be a players association? What would it be? Would it be a characters association? I think that they should bargain with their commissioner or owner for more salary.
Sebastian the Crab would probably be the Derek Fisher of the Players Association. First of all, Disney has missed a fantastic business opportunity. Qatar is one of the richest places in the world. They have oil everywhere. There is probably going to be an oil leak during Disney on Ice, which is where real dreams are made of. It's so perfect that they're called the Atlanta Dreams, because
Jay, you shouldn't go live. Next time, if you ever are going anywhere, don't go to Green Bay and don't do the show live from Green Bay. Do the show live from Disney on Ice in Qatar, where there are oil leaks.
Okay, listen. Why do you not sell those tickets for $2,000? They would do it in Qatar. You have to realize, Walt Disney is rolling in his grave right now because his company could be making money and bringing joy to the children of the Middle East, which he is, but it should cost about 20 times more if they want to make money. Wow, we truly do it all. We are literally giving economy tips to wealthy Middle Eastern nations. That's how you know it's after dark here at Rookies Roundup. It's actually past the midnight mark. Anything else you want to talk about, man? This has been a lot of fun. I'm out of topics, but go.
Before we go, I'd just like to quickly talk about Derrick Rose.
I can talk about anything you want.
His return. He made his return to the court and played 7.5 minutes. Then they took him out. Then he played again and ended up playing with 20 minutes and 36 seconds. And though, he was rusty, he looked good physically, and I'm very happy to have him back.
Yeah, if you listen closely, far off in the distance, you can hear Adidas executives cheering and the clinking of wine glasses. Because D Rose is back, you will be bombarded with hashtag the return like never before. Hashtag the return of hashtag the return. It's the returnception.
Yeah. Hashtag the return of the commercials of hashtag the
holding
return.
Holding his knee and down. Wow.
Exactly. I'd also just really like to mention quickly on the Ohio State game. Of course, I've got to talk about it in case anybody out there didn't see the game. It was really close. It was a nail biter, and all those people who doubt Northwestern as a team, they should earn your respect. They're actually a good team. They were very competitive.
I was one of those people, and they have earned my respect. I will give them that.
But the problem is, this is the first time I've been to their stadium, and I was very disappointed with it. Their big screen is not big at all. I could barely see it from where I was. Their big screen is basically like a normal flat screen TV. Their sound system was terrible. Their band is obviously subpar to Ohio State's. And actually, the majority of the stadium, at least 50%, was Ohio fans. So Northwestern got to do a better job of selling fandom.
They don't have a choice. Tampa Bay has a choice. They don't. Most people don't realize it, but do you know that Northwestern only has a student body of a little over 5,000?
Yeah, I know that, actually.
They're actually a pretty small school, so, I don't know how many alumni they'll be able to get to show up,
here's the thing. And also, those 5,000, the majority are Asian. Just putting that out there. Not to be racist or anything. This is just... It's also a Jeremy Lin joke on calculating his shot direction.
No, we're going to stop there right now. I don't care if we're after dark. We are tolerant to all. And so now, as a moral obligation...
Even Disney on Ice.
As... Disney... No.
Are we... What about Ariel? What about Ariel? Or all of those people? Are we tolerant to them, even though they seem to always do the stupidest decisions in those movies?
Yeah, it's totally fine to kiss strangers. I'm okay with everyone except for Ursula the Octopus. I don't know what was up with her, but she
was having a bad day.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. That would be my advice for Ursula the Octopus. Yeah, anyway, but so out of moral obligation, let's talk about something to just recover here. And this was something I wanted to talk about. I actually missed it on the topic sheet. I mentioned earlier that Ole Miss lost today, and I was really pumped that they lost because I heard that they did the most horrible thing. You know, in LA, we're a lot more welcoming than this and more tolerant, and it's just sad to know that in some places they're not. So, this is a Bleacher Report article. Ole Miss head coach Hugh Freeze issued a response to allegations that members of the Rebels football team used anti-gay slurs and behaved in a disruptive manner during the performance of the play The Laramie Project on Tuesday night. So, I actually learned this from Carl Mogline. He knows about the Laramie Project. It turns out it's a play about a student from Wyoming. That was in 1997, 1998, who I think he came out as gay, or was a closet gay or something, and ended up committing suicide. And Jason Collins, actually, the first openly gay professional athlete in Big Four sports, came out and said, after he came out, he said the reason he wore 98 was because that was the year that Matthew Shepard, that was his name, that Matthew Shepard committed suicide, and they made a play about it. And what was so horrible about this, actually, was, well, you know what, here's what the star of that show said. Quote, "I'm the only gay person on the cast. I played a gay character in the show, and to be ridiculed like that was something that really made me realize that some people at Ole Miss and in Mississippi still can't accept me for who I am." End quote. Now, here's the thing when it comes to stuff like this. I'm trying to stay away from the politics of it. You don't have to think. You can think that gay marriage is a sin. I mean, you can do whatever you want. But just don't be so heartless like that. Let people live their own life. And especially in this setting, it's a shame. It's really a shame. And you know what? I think something is going on at Ole Miss. I think that there might be a scandal going on at Ole Miss. I don't know how they're getting all these top recruits to show up at their school. I think Hugh Freeze is digging into his pockets and paying these guys. Because that's the only explanation for it.
We also forgot the biggest news story, obviously, in sports of the weekend. The U.S. is closing in on the President's Cup trophy in golf. Golf. Tiger Woods, golf.
Listen,
golf.
My dad's a golf fan. I can't make fun of golf, although I want to. I thought you were going to talk about the shutdown, and I'm like, oh no. Don't get me started before I start ranting.
Hey, I mean, it's legit, though. Tiger Woods is trying to lead them to the tournament. Obviously, Kutcher, they remain undefeated. They're the only people to remain undefeated so far. Now, they're working their way up. So, maybe they'll pull it out and they'll be able to win.
Yep.
I resisted laughing throughout that whole thing.
I'm proud of you, no. I forgot to mention this. On Madden 25, you can do your own franchise thing, and you can turn relocations on. And it's so funny how realistic this was. So Tampa Bay decided to relocate to Dublin, and the fans are petitioning the owner because A, they didn't choose the name he wanted, B, he didn't choose the logo they wanted, and C, the stadium is a dump. You know what, but I think that Jacksonville should move there, because I think the people of Dublin would be very open to the idea of free beer at their games.
Okay, yeah, definitely. They'd definitely be open to the idea of free beer. They definitely like free beer. So I definitely think that Jacksonville move to Dublin. Have fun there.
Alright, man, I just gotta really thank you for showing up tonight. I know you just gotten home. It was pretty late. It's 2 a.m. there. Dude, you are insane. You stay up till 2 a.m. talking about the WNBA, but I'm not gonna complain because it's people like you that really make this show as awesome as it is. So thank you so much. Hopefully our Packers pull it out tomorrow. Any last words before you sign off?
Yeah. Look for me in the crowds on TV at Disney on Ice. I look for it to be a close performance. I don't know if I'm being Ariel the Crab or if I'm going to go with Ursula the Squid. I know it's not a good pick. I know everybody hates her. But I think that she might pull this one out. I think that the final score, bad apple to dwarves.
Does that mean 7?
It's a tough calculation to make. I would need Jeremy Lin to do that for me.
Oh, no. Okay, it's time for you. Oh my god. Alright, thank you, Noah. That was really cool of you to show up tonight. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem, and talk to you later.
Alright, see you. No, Tabora, that was awesome. You could tell it's after dark. We just went to the WNBA. We talked about Disney on Ice. This was fantastic. So again, I did promise that I'd give you my NFL picks. First of all, I have to give a shout out. You may remember my brother coming on air in episode 6. Now, in our family, we do straight picks and we do spread picks, and I am obligated to give him a shout out for picking against the spread thus far this season. There are over 100,000 entries on ESPN.com picks can pick up. My brother is 95th in the country. It is incredible how he was doing this with the spread picks. I'm still winning in straight, so that's cool, but I mean, props to him. 95th. And I don't even think he's a teenager yet, is he? Well, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you his age. You never know what creepers are on the internet and stuff. Not that I'm calling you backpedal time. Alright. So quickly, we will run down the NFL picks. It was a good week for me last week. No, it was not a good week for me last week. I've seen better weeks. I went 8-7. Straight up. Hopefully I'll turn that around for you this week. I went more in depth with picks on Deets Sports Talk After Dark last night, so if you want to hear more in depth predictions, check out that show as well. So again, the game I was supposed to go to, the Packers hosting the Lions, that's not going to happen again. Thoughts and prayers with my grandpa. Hopefully he'll get out of this. The doctors aren't sure, but hopefully he will pull through. And we're really rooting for him, and we are supporting him. As for the Packer game, we have 3 other possibilities for games that we would go to, me and my dad. It would be in Minnesota in November, in Dallas in December, or the game that I would prefer to go to, because there's nothing like a game at Lambeau Field at home against the Eagles on November 10th. It would be cold, but it would be worth it. Now, without further ado, the picks. I'm taking the Packers over the Lions at home. I'm taking New Orleans over Chicago in Chicago because I think that the Saints blitz behind Rob Ryan is going to be too much for Cutler. I'm going to take the Patriots over Cincy in Cincinnati. I'm going to take the Chiefs over the Titans in Tennessee. Seahawks over the Colts in Indianapolis. Jacksonville over the Rams. This is my big pick in St. Louis. A lot of road wins. Miami over Baltimore in Miami. The Giants over the Eagles in New York. I've been back and forth on this for so long, but I feel like the Giants are due at home against an Eagles team that has been struggling. Coughlin can whip this team into shape. I'm going to take the Panthers over the Cardinals in Arizona because Carolina is coming off of a bye, and before that they beat the Giants at 38-zip. I like what Lotulelei can do as well as Kuechly. I am going to take Denver over Dallas in Jerryland. The Sunday night game, I will take San Francisco over Houston in San Francisco, although that's going to be a close one. That can go either way. I will take San Diego over Oakland in Oakland at 8:35 p.m. Pacific, latest start in the history of the NFL. And on Monday night, I picked Atlanta for my Eliminator Challenge. That's still alive for me. If you play along with the Eliminator Challenge, definitely the Falcons would be your pick this week. Atlanta over the Jets. Ooh, it will not be close. And of course, the Thursday night football game where Buffalo fell to West Cincinnati, 37-24. Those are my picks. Hopefully that they are right. I can get back on track. Thank you guys so much for listening in. I know we might not get a lot of live viewers because it's so late at night right now. But I mean, my grandpa's not doing well. I'm absolutely exhausted. But this is just a testament to really how much fun I have doing this and how much it means to me that people listen in. Now, here's what I forgot to talk about. This show hit 1,000 views on Monday, our 50-day anniversary after our first episode. We hit over the 1,000 mark. That was huge. It meant so much to me. Thank you guys so much. And don't stop there. We now have a Facebook page. We have our own logo now. It's going down. By the way, I'm going to say where I got the logo from. In case there's some copyright thing or something, it's from logogarden.com. Actually, a pretty cool place. A lot of fun stuff you can do there. I have some other shoutouts to give before we go to the awards. So, when we found out that we would not be going to Green Bay because my grandpa was in critical condition, we had flights to cancel, we had hotel reservations to cancel. So, I'm going to give 2 shoutouts tonight. First, the Hyatt on Main in Green Bay, who not only gave us a full refund, but sent their thoughts and prayers to my grandpa. I mean, the people in Green Bay are really nice. That was just fantastic and really cool of you guys. And my other shout out tonight is Delta Airlines. You know, I never thought too highly of Delta, but this was really cool of them. We told them what was going on. They said we could completely understand. Just needed the name of the patient in the hospital and the doctor phone number, stuff like that. They verified it, and now we have complete credit. So if we want to go to Green Bay, again on Delta or anywhere, we can fly as many miles as we would have. So thank you to Delta. Thank you to the Hyatt on Main in Green Bay. You guys were really cool. Really appreciate it. And again, any thoughts and prayers are helpful. So now it's time for the awards. By the way, did you know that tonight we have gone without a single commercial? So it turns out I left my awards on the other side of the room, but I am not going to play it like that. Pretend that for the next 5 seconds we are having a moment of suspension, like when Ryan Seacrest is about to pronounce the winner of American Idol. The 3 awards, starting with the MVP, go to this little Pirates fan. What a great doctor's excuse in Pittsburgh. It's been a long time since the Pirates have been in the playoffs. Every year I make my baseball picks on July 9th, and I stick with those picks throughout the year, and I went with Oakland over Pittsburgh, so they're hanging on by a thread. Hopefully that will go down well. But they are very happy in Pittsburgh. Listen to this quote-unquote doctor's note from excusing this Pirates fan out of school. So it's a piece of paper. It says, "Mrs. Yu, I will be picking up Braden at 12:55 today. Braden has an appointment with Dr. McCutcheon. Braden has bucko fever. Thanks." And it has the mom's name, and it's got a picture of McCutcheon and the Pirates logo. Well, you know what? Honesty is the best policy. Go Pirates. and that was really cool. And hopefully Mrs. Yu will be happy to excuse Braden to Dr. McCutcheon. I mean, he's really come down with a fever, so get well to him soon. Although I don't think it's chilling down anytime soon in Steel City. So MVP, this mom who wrote this awesome doctor's note excusing his son to the Pirates game. Our facepalm goes to a notably rowdy fan base who's making jokes that were so 8 months ago. The Raiders are about to play the Chargers. Manti Te'o is now on the Chargers. And, of course, they're a package deal. Manti Te'o and Lene Kekua. So, let's talk about what they did. They had a nice quote-unquote welcome party, if you will. Because, of course, the Raiders have always... It was a tribute, I believe. The Raiders fans mocked Manti Te'o with a touching tribute to his dead fake girlfriend. They will be holding up a big sign that says, "Rest in peace, Lene Kekua." Yes, so our thoughts and prayers are with Ms. Kekua as well, or as we know, his real name is Ronaya Tuiasa Sopo. I know my names. And lastly, our sympathy. I don't like to repeat myself too often, and maybe people think it's laziness, but I think that they really deserve it at this point. Cleveland, once again, gets my sympathy vote because this is just so sad. I mean, everything. Something was finally going right. Nobody could have seen it coming with Hoyer, and they were saved. And of course, he tears his ACL. Just a shame. Gotta feel awful for him. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in Cleveland. And that's it. That's going to be a wrap for our 12th episode, Rookies Roundup. I'm sorry we couldn't be in Green Bay, but you know what? This was still a fantastic show. Big thank you to Note Florida. Check out our Facebook page. Check out everything on National Sports. Our Facebook page is National Sports. Our Twitter is at all caps National Sports 1. And our Instagram page is National_Sports. So, we have to start something and make use of our Facebook page. So, if you want to make me laugh and smile, and, make me give you a shout out on the show, unless you don't want one, post on Rookies Roundup, hashtag ReturnCeption. That's how I know you have been listening, and it'll be really cool if you do, and maybe you'll get a shout out on the show, and I'll let you call in, although you could call in anyway. But you'd be a special guest, and putting the letters VIP in front of everyone makes them seem super special. So yes, hashtag ReturnCeption, put it on our Facebook page, and it will be epic. We'll be doing that every week, so that's it. That's what we're calling it. We're going to call it, and I just thought of this, by the way, the last word. Last word for today is ReturnCeption, hashtag ReturnCeption on our Facebook page. Again, big thanks to Noah. This is a lot of fun. Thanks, of course, to you guys. 1,000 views and counting. Don't stop there. By the way, I just realized I've got to give you guys a QB rating to beat because you blew away my expectations. I'm gonna be... What should we do? Because I have high hopes for this week. So I'm gonna challenge you guys. Let's see if we can get views that are higher than Matt Ryan's QB rating. He's playing against the Jets. So you guys are in for a challenge. Hopefully you guys come through for me. Tell everybody, by the way. Because we don't want him to stay at 1,000. We want to get to 10,000. We want to get to 1,000,000. We want to get to as high as we possibly can. And that doesn't happen unless you start talking and telling people. So, of course, tell anyone you can. I'm about to start rambling, which I listened back last episode, and wow, I seriously rambled. It was a sentimental thing for me, actually. This is not rambling, it's an important note. I use an Excel spreadsheet, keep track of all the viewers and stuff, new stats, which guests were on what show, what day of the week. I really do everything I can to make the show as good as possible, and I realized I should also probably put in the times, but I didn't keep track of what time every show started. Although I do remember saying what time it started at the beginning of every show. So I went back and listened to every single episode, the first 3 minutes, and wow, how far the show has come. Every week is better than the last. And I think that was the case here again, although last show was really tough to beat. No, it was a great sport. It was, past 2 a.m. We are really tight like that. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. And again, any thoughts and prayers with my grandfather in this tough time would be appreciated. Tampa Bay Lightning, you are an honorary fan of our honorary team. We will be rooting for you as well. And of course, go Pack, go! Even though I'm not there, my heart is still in Green Bay. So hopefully we can pull out a win tomorrow against Detroit. Man, I'm getting a sore throat. You can tell I've been talking for a long time. So yeah, I'm going to play you guys out with that final commercial. And we're going to say goodnight. For the first time, we've actually passed the midnight mark here. It truly is After Dark. What a great show. I think this is one of our funniest shows yet, actually. So once again, hashtag ReturnCeption. Don't forget it. Again, thank you so much. I'm going to cue it up. You guys rock. Go Pack Go. The live on Green Bay show still will likely happen. We are targeting for a good 3 or 4 weeks from now against the Eagles. But until then, stay tuned. It's no homework weekend, actually. So hopefully I'll be able to be back tomorrow night with Carl Mogline, who pushed me enough to make a Facebook page that I finally made it. Yeah, and I've thanked everybody. Oh yeah, again, big thanks to Hyatt. Big thanks to Delta Airlines. Big thanks to Disney on Ice and the Atlanta Dream for being such a good sport for the children. Hashtag ReturnCeption. Hashtag West Cincinnati. Thank you all for listening. It's been a great night. And we're going to say goodnight. We will hopefully see you tomorrow night for our 13th episode. Saying goodbye for tonight. I'm Jake Liker, a.k.a. Rookie. Thanks again. Good night.
Live from Los Angeles, we thank you for listening to another presentation of the National Sports Radio Station on Spreaker.com.